All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 160th episode of the Grow My DJ Business podcast, brought to you by Digital Music Pool, the Grow My DJ Business Discord, and also Parari Production Academy. My name's Kareem.
My name is Parari, and we are back.
We are back. We got no Gary Dubb this week.
No Gary Dubb. I'm happy to fill in, like always. But, I kind of am the unofficial third host of this thing now.
You really are at this point.
No, it's always good to be back. I love shooting the shit with you guys. It's always fun.
Yeah, man, we had a really good conversation last week, and we always have good conversations. So it's fun to just like actually record them, and we're talking shit like this when we're just hanging out. So
yeah, I still can't believe like the reach sometimes of your guys' podcast, which is so awesome. Like I just had Bobby Boucher reached out to me actually. He's like, dope podcast. Rick texted us like, yo, podcast was awesome. So I love that. I like, how it really impacts other DJs, and it makes us feel good that like other DJs want to hear our perspective and where we're coming from our market. And I think that's why podcasts really like excel so much, is because you get a different perspective of what's going on from each and every market, that if you don't have the opportunity to travel there, well, at least you could get in that mindset and be like, oh, well, that's going on there. Let me bring that back here,
Yeah. I think it's not only the markets too, because I listen to a lot of the DJ podcasts, and some podcasts are more hip hop focused. Some podcasts are more private event focused. This podcast is sort of more EDM and dance focused. I know we kind of talk open format too, but so it's cool to kind of check into the different worlds, because, we've been playing in this EDM world for a while, and like, I sort of don't know what's going on in the hip hop rooms or the Latin rooms, or even though more open format rooms at this point. So it's like good to get perspective from the DJs that are playing in those rooms,
Yeah. And I mean, I'm listening to podcasts like all the time. I've always listened to podcasts, but definitely more now because my studio days are just so long. Like I'm working, usually I get up at 7:30 with my daughter. So let's call it 9:00. I put her down for a nap, and I'm working from 9 to 6, hard pause at 6. And then if I have to go back after that. So like when I go to the gym, I kind of go like, I raw dog the gym sometimes. I was just telling people about the other night where like I put my AirPods in and I just put the air canceling on and I listen to straight nothing like a psycho.
I think it's so funny that you put the AirPods in but play nothing.
It's just nothing. It's the silence is like, silence is golden. Like, again, I drive in the car with my wife and she puts the radio on. I'm like, please, no music.
Yeah.
I can't take the music right now. But podcasts are like that other thing for me where I can listen and do other things. I won't necessarily say it pumps me up, but it works for me. So
no, I agree. I have like a whole routine of all the different podcasts I listen to every day.
yeah. And what's funny, like I used to, like I've always had the Apple Podcast app like on my phone, but it wasn't conversations like you and I have, or we have with Gary. It was DJs radio shows, and really it started when Hardwell on Air and W&W and I Need Rehab came out, because that's how I would find the new music.
Same.
I feel like there's not that much hype around the radio shows anymore because the music is so accessible now. And it's like, I used to listen to the BBC Radio 1 mixes and all of that stuff. I just don't do it as much anymore because I feel like that exclusivity of the songs is now TikTok based or Instagram reel based, where they're creating that excitement through that and not through the radio show with like, Annie Mac or, any of those people. So
yeah. You know what I liked about the radio shows though? And it's the same thing as going to listen to DJs live, but you sort of get taken on a journey, right? So if the radio show's an hour, the energy and the style in the beginning is probably going to be different than the energy and the style at the end. And it's like, all right, well, how do you get from that point A to point B? And it helped me sort of curate my own stuff and curate my own sets, and also curate my own mix show or whatever else I was putting out. I haven't really done my own in a while, but when other people ask me, it's like, now I sort of know how to do that because I've listened to so many.
It's like the same with festival sets almost, I think, because I do listen to those a lot. Like after an ultra or something, I always listen just to hear what, they're playing. Obviously we can't attend it most of the time, so I always try and listen for that. But like, I remember specifically like the Hardwell or the Nicky Romero Essential Mix when they did that on BBC Radio 1. It was like ID, Hardwell mashup versus this,
Yeah.
ID. I mean, when I was like 18, 19, I used to like rip part of it and then like play that in my sets, even though it was like a rip for the radio, but as long as it was clean, because I wanted those IDs like back then, you know, I would put my own intro on it, maybe string it along with another clip from a different radio show that he played it in. And I would be like, oh, look, I have Calling early. I remember I did that with Calling, actually. I played it at Surf Club Tea Night like this is way back 2011, I guess. And I played it and people were like, how did you get that? Little did they know, like I literally
Radio
took
rip.
it from 3 radio shows and like spliced it together in Cubase is what I was using at the time. And I was able to play it. So
There's always buzz around a few sets from all the festivals. So it's nice to be able to go and just check out like what people really enjoyed from that particular festival.
yeah.
When I used to have Sirius XM, they would always live stream it, which was amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I don't my my car has Sirius XM now, but I didn't like resubscribe for it. Like again, just for that reason. But yeah, I don't know. I
Man,
still
actually, Ezoo would have been happening here coming up this weekend.
That's
Labor
right.
Day
Oh my
weekend.
God, I totally forgot about that.
That was a festival that I used to attend religiously every year, and it's sad for me to see it go after the disaster from last year.
Rip. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I think we touched upon it a little
It was
bit.
bad.
The last time I was on the podcast, besides last week, I
Really?
think that was the last time I was on. Yeah, and yeah, R.I.P.
R.I.P. is right. Man, so this past weekend, I was out in DC on Saturday. I played 2 shows. One at 12 after 12. It's like this, they do like this big day party once a month. And my night gig was sort of just like a tack on gig at this spot called Zoos, like a super high end restaurant. They got like a little rooftop, like it's pretty dope. But what really stood out for me, I've been going to DC for like 3 years. This was the first trip where I didn't play one hip hop song.
Wow.
And DC to me was one of those markets where it's like, this is a hip hop market. And there's a few spots where you can go and play house music or EDM, but you know, you're probably playing open format where it's like 40% hip hop and Latin type thing, but like not one track hip hop
And
this time.
why do you feel like you didn't like play a lot of hip hop? Was it just like when you got there, you just saw the crowd and was like, this isn't a hip hop room? Or did you start with EDM and they were just like kind of vibing to it? Or
A few reasons. I think number one, I think the city is just transforming a little bit where house music has become more popular, where there's more house specific venues. That's number one. It's just more popular in the city. There's still hip hop venues, but I think there's just more of the EDM spots. I think that's part of it. But I think the other part of it is like, I don't really want to play a whole lot of hip hop anymore. So whereas in past trips, I would make it happen because I knew that it would work. This time around, like I played USBs both shows this weekend. I played a headline set at Birch USBs last week. I'm trying to make this transition to like USB DJ Cream and not computer. So I think that's part of it too, where I've changed a lot, just like the city's changed.
yeah, I mean, you brought up a good point, right? Like with the USBs. And I think I want to say it was Vice. I heard Vice say this with the USBs when he was transitioning over around the same time I was, right when the 3000s came out. And it's like you use that computer, at least I could speak for myself for one reason. It's just because it holds more music, right? Like I don't necessarily need Serato. I can mix on Serato or Tractor or vinyl or CDs. I've done it all. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need it for that, but I do use it for the music. And it's almost like when you have too much music, it's like, yeah, you feel the need that you have to bounce around. But with the USBs, it's like you really have to be selective with the preparation and what you put on it. And it's kind of like with music production with plugins. Like everyone is always hitting me up like, oh, this is the best plugin. This is the best plugin. Like, but do you need it? Like, I'd rather have 10 good plugins that I know work and I could bounce around them than have 400 plugins and then, spend how much dollars on them and maybe I won't grab them, So I think that having that smaller crate and trying to make the party work with this amount of music also works, whether that be EDM or hip hop or whatever it is. I think that's like a huge advantage of USBs is like you're only dealt with a limited arsenal because yeah, you could get these 1 terabyte, whatever USBs or whatever, but I stick to the 128 gigabyte ones and I just kind of keep a certain amount of stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, you're only really playing 2 or 3 hours of music, probably maybe 4 hours on like at this point, right? You're not playing.
I rarely play these 4-hour sets, but like still within those 2-hour sets, you only have I still play like 200-300 tracks a night. It's just that I have this limited list now and I try and, focus it a lot on that. But like, do I still play hip hop? Yeah, but I also haven't really been out on the scene a little bit since my daughter was born because I did have to take some time off. So I'm really curious to hear more about like how these rooms are really focusing more towards that and less on hip hop. But I also do think that some of the hip hop coming out right now, at least from what I hear, it's not good, right? Like,
there's just less hits that come out, I think, personally. There's stuff that works, man. There's stuff that crushes for sure.
yeah.
Um, it's just not stuff that I want to do anymore. And that I think really at the end of the day, that's sort of what it is, right? I can do it. I used to do it. I just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I used to play a lot of hip hop in college, and I think that's kind of like what separated me because I was an EDM DJ for like 3 years already doing that. And when I got to college is when the EDM bubble really hit, right? Like it just started exploding onto the scene, and every DJ at Rutgers was like trying to be this EDM DJ. And I was listening to them mix, and I'm like, these guys, like, they could barely even put two 128 tracks together. But then when I used to play the fraternities, I used to purposely play hip hop, not because I wanted to, but I actually liked that era of hip hop. Now we're talking 2012, 13, 14. Like this is like the DJ Mustard, Fetty Wap, Trap Queen, like 95 to 105 BPM stuff. I still play that because I love the bounce on that hip hop. But like some of these other hip hop records I think are coming out, I don't necessarily love them. I think the last one I really liked was the Nicki Minaj, the Jersey Club one. Can't think of the name right now.
Everybody or
with J Hood, is that with J Hood? Who, I forget who produced that. Or DJ Smalls, I forget who it was. But anyway, long story short, that one was dope because it had Jersey Club influence, and I still like Jersey Club. Or the Uzi record, Just Wanna Rock. Like,
yeah.
still energy when I play those, and I'm still trying to work those in. But the new stuff, I don't want to play because I don't like it. You know?
Well, yeah, those are both Jersey Club records that they're much more up tempo, and not only that, they can kind of weave pretty seamlessly into the styles of music that you're currently playing, right?
Exactly. So
as the house music is kind of sped up and there's some more techno and speed house stuff, it's very easy to just dip into, that 70 or 75 BPM.
Yeah,
Jersey Club, or even
70,
hip-hop.
75 is equivalent to the 140 or 150 realm. And if I'm
Right.
already in there, it's easy for me to go back and forth. It's not like I'm going from 140, dipping down, or using a transition edit to go to like 95, and I have to like
Right.
slow the energy down. I can maintain that energy. But if it doesn't fit that, I either look for a Jersey Club edit of the hip hop song, or I just kind of avoid it now.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that DC was like, mostly dance music. And I believe is Glow the club in DC, like that big EDM venue. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah. So it's Echo Stage and Glow
Echo
are like the
Stage, yeah.
big. That's where all the huge artists come through. I know like Tiesto's been through a bunch of times, and like the biggest artists go through there for sure.
I'm surprised that like it's just catching on now, especially with those big venues, because I know those venues are massive.
There's always been big venues like that in DC. I remember when I was younger, I went to go visit a friend in college there, and we went to another venue. I think we saw Afrojack. I also saw Tiesto down there once at another venue that's no longer there, but it's always been there. I think it's just some of these other venues that kind of fill in around that place that are now leaning more house music. I know Angelo just played at Zebby's Garden recently. Luke Alexander played there. Like that's another one where like you're not playing mainstream house music in there.
Yeah, so that was my next question. Are you playing like, what are you considering non-mainstream and mainstream? Is like John Summit considered mainstream there, or are they looking for deeper stuff? Like,
no, I would say that's mainstream. No.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I think John Summit, Dom Dalla Fisher, very mainstream stuff. Yeah, like I would consider that the pop of dance music right now, But like when you're going to DC, what are they looking for? Are they doing more, mainstream stuff? Are they looking to go deeper? Or is it like not house? Is it like speed house? Or like what was your like approach to that?
Well, the room I played during the day was a day party. I played a more commercial, like EDM, tech house, a little bit of techno, a little bit of Jersey Club type thing. The night party, I played a lot of like Afro beat and deep house and more chill, like 124 BPM house music. I don't think I broke like 126 BPMs for that particular party. Yeah, it was more of like a sunset, like rooftop vibe up there.
Yeah, because like I personally, I don't have I just started playing the Kleiny Music Move record. I just started playing that like as of like a month ago. But I'm playing the Danny Avila remix, which is like super technoed out. It's like the only version I could play, but I'm not really fitting like many Afro house songs into my personal sets.
I'm not either.
But I really enjoy the Gordo album. I was talking about this the other night. Like, I think a lot of those records are really refreshing. And I like how the Afro house world and the hip hop world are kind of colliding a little bit. Like when you have the Drakes coming on to that stuff, or like, you combine like the Black Coffees. Like I think that has been very refreshing, and I don't necessarily like to play it, or do I want to play it, but I like listening to it.
Yeah. Yeah, you told me to check out the Gordo album. I'm excited. I got to do that this weekend.
Really good. I mean, that album, like, I'm not the first person to jump on Carnage or Gordo and be like, oh, because I know him as like the festival hard trap guy.
Festival trap Carnage all day.
Yeah, like, and I missed that, like with like the Rockin', the Spaceman festival trap edits. I used to love that, but like then he got a little bit harder style. Like I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite anymore. And then I gave this album a chance, and mostly because one of my mentors, Luca Prodolesi, he's a mixing and mastering engineer out in Las Vegas at Studio DMI. He actually mixed and mastered that, and not only am I listening it for the experience of like the music, but I also like listening it to understand like how these records are being mixed and stuff like that. But I'm finding myself more enjoying the music than actually sitting there and being like, oh, how did he get those transients to snap like that or whatever. So I'm actually really enjoying it. It's been really refreshing for me.
Mikey and I have have gone deep into Discord in some battles on the Afro House and kind of
music. I'm just a hater, guys. I'm sorry. I don't get it. I think the one dude is like really awkward when he's dancing, like, and then the other guys are like completely oblivious to like him. Like he wears like a like a baseball cap, and the other guy's got like the bandanas on, the pashminas. I just don't get it. I feel like it's very hippie Burning Man music, and now it's like coming, like, keep it at Burning Man, keep it in Mykonos on a sunset. I'm all for it.
Yeah, like it's the summer. I think that's also why you're seeing a lot of that pop up. Like it's summer time.
God, if they play main stage EDC or something, I'm gonna lose it because I just don't understand it.
They could. I don't know. I don't get it either, but they could.
Sunset is gonna be killing us after this one.
I know. All good. So yeah, I think like just to kind of put a wrap on the DC thing, for that market, which I've always known as more of a hip hop market, for me to go there and just see so much more house music, it just kind of like confirms what we've been talking about a lot on this pod, is like EDM and house music and techno and all these various subgenres are really, really popular right now. And more rooms are allowing you to sort of play that style. And for you and me, that's a great thing.
I think we were really in a time, like, and maybe I'm just like noticing this now, but like I think we were really in a time where we really like had to play for the venue, and we were always so concerned about like, well, I want to come back, so I'm just going to play what the venue wants, right? Where I think now is a really great time, especially with like TikTok and what's like trending, where you could really play whatever you want. And it's weird to say because DJs should always do that. If you want to be about house music, play what you want to play. If you want to be about hip hop, play that, like do it. That's always been the thing with DJing. It's taste making and finding records where like, yo, I think this record's dope. Let me play it and see if other people react to it. And I think we got away from that a little bit. And now we're kind of, again, things come in cycles, right? So we're kind of coming back to that now where we could kind of play what we want, and we could be known as like, oh, he's like an EDM DJ. He's a hip hop DJ. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all DJs, right? I don't want to put a label on anything. I think that's just, it is what it is. But I think you could really play now what you want to play. And listen, if you got to play Taylor Swift, okay, make a techno edit of it. Like I have to play the Kanye music song Move. It's popular right
you
now,
play
right?
the Danny Avila remix.
But I played the Danny Avila remix. And if Danny Avila didn't do that hard techno remix, I probably would have made a remix to fit that, right? So, that's where being a producer has an advantage, is that I could do that, or being an editor where you could make like an edit or whatever to make it fit your set. But you don't have to play the original Taylor Swift love story. It's a cool time right now.
I'm going to put the Gary W hat on right now, because I know if he was here, he would say, yeah, but for Cream and for Ferrari, you can do that because you've been able to build up a name where you get hired to go do a certain thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And like, we can go and we have a little more leeway than the local DJ that's fighting and trying to like continue to get booked at a certain venue, or build a name in a smaller market, or just build a name in general, right? So I think there's a fine line. If you're a younger DJ and you're just trying to break into a market or trying to build your name up a little bit, you sort of got to do a little of what the venue wants too. If you want to be a working DJ and you want to work in that particular market, right? Now, what Mikey said is right. There are ways to put your style on what the crowd wants or what the venue wants, right? Maybe it is that pop vocal, and that's how you kind of bridge the gap from your style to what the venue wants or what the customer wants. I think for me, that's always been my thing, right? Like find the remix or make a version that fits my style and what I like.
I mean, that's literally why you started making edits or mashups or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Like, I started making mashups for the one reason that I was playing teen nights. And teen nights we talked about this a little bit last week. Like, there were certain rooms for certain music, but I was always like the EDM guy. I was playing the Dutch house, the Swedish stuff, like the really, like, Steve Angelo's, Axwell's, Avicii's, Hardwell, stuff like that. But as I started, I was 16, 15 years old when I was doing that, and I needed to play Sweet 16s, and I was doing all this other stuff that we all naturally do to fall into this DJ space, right? So I still wanted to play that. So was I going to play Taylor Swift 22 or whatever? No. So what I started to do, or Black and Yellow, Wiz Khalifa was really big, and I'm using that song specifically because one of my bigger mashups was I took this song by Chucky called like Muta Fuka, I think it was called, and I just put
I remember
the
that.
loop on it. You know what it is, Black and Yellow, and it went right into the drop. And that was one of my most played edits because I was now combining this pop world with Black and Yellow to my friends in high school. What you got to remember, like, there was no EDM bubble yet,
Yeah.
it was just starting to happen. And I was showing them that side of me while combining the commercial hits they liked. And then when I got to college, I was light years ahead of all the guys trying to do the DJing or whatever, because I already had like these crazy edits that were combining people's favorite songs with the dance music stuff that was so new to them. And I think that's why it works so well and why we do the mashups and edits. And that's another great way for, you to still play you, but still make the room happy. And it's been working for the last 15 years. It's going to work today,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the goal is always finding what your sound is too. And that's just the evolution of you as a DJ and an artist. And there's so many different ways to do that, right? If you want to be open format, that's fine. There's plenty of rooms that you can go and play open format and put your style on it. If you want to be a tech house DJ, there's plenty of rooms where you can make your own tech house and make edits and go play that music, So it's just to do everything can be hard, right? So that's why, like we're saying, we're more focused and more kind of one lane, and it's been working for us. And I'm hoping that we're going to see more and more of that. And
it takes a while too, right? Like, it took you a long time to find your sound. It took me a long time to find my sound a little bit, but I think defining your sound, like sitting there with a piece of paper, be like, who are my top 3 artists? Let's say James Hype, Chris Lake, Fisher. Okay. Now let me play the tracks that they play, but let me put my twist on them. And I think if you can define it like that and see what you're doing, great. Now you have a clear vision. But like, where the disconnect I think happens is like a lot of guys DJ to make money and they're taking gigs that don't necessarily, fit that. Like, you're playing a Latin room and you're playing Latin music, but you want to be about this. Okay, there's a way to blend it, but the problem is you haven't defined what you want it to be. So now you're just conforming to what the Latin room wants. And I think that's a conversation I've been having with a lot of DJs right now, especially my students, is like, you are conforming to the venue. You are taking your brand and you are saying, this is what the venue wants, so I'm just going to do what they want, rather than, you booked me to be me because I'm a unique individual. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to work with your venue, and I'm going to play the stuff that your venue needs. If I have to adjust, I can do it. But I'm not going to conform to you, right? Like, I'm not going and playing, Taylor Swift night or Bad Bunny night because I don't want to play that. But like, if I have to play that stuff in my sets, I will. But I think that's a big issue right now, is conforming to the venue. Like, you don't have to do that. And I think we were talking about this, like the one takeaway, we had from the other night. We had a little boys hangout with a bunch of DJs. Like, who was there? Rick, Wonder, Clutch, Encore, Marty Rock, Chachi actually hosted everybody. And I think one of the big things, you and I were talking about with Rick, and he said, quote unquote, I don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. I'm playing me. And, Rick can do that because Rick is a great open format DJ, and his edits now, he has so many great mashups and edits that, like, he could play a full Rick Wonder set and you're still hitting the Bad Bunnies, the commercial stuff, but it's house music. And I love that. I think that was so fucking cool because, like, to have that confidence and say, I don't give a fuck. If they don't like me, fuck it. Like, I'm playing me. And I think that's so fucking awesome. I wish more guys thought like that.
Yeah, I've definitely been taking that outlook a lot more in the last couple months here, especially this summer and beyond. But like, yeah, he said that, and I'm like, man, I agree. Like, I'm fuck this. I'm just playing. I gotta play how I want to play because most places are booking me because they know who I am. They know who you are. They know who Rick is. They want to bring you in, right? So like, they're expecting you to play you. I would think. I don't know.
I
I
think
think it
at
would be
this point
weird
in our
for.
careers, they would expect I'm Ferrari, you're Cream. You have these edits or mashups that have done so well. I have these tracks. Don't book Ferrari if you're expecting to hear, you know, a certain sound. If you're booking Ferrari, you should know you're going to hear 140 BPM, hard style, EDM, speed house, whatever you want to call it, energy. That's what you're booking me for. You book Rick Wonder, you're going to hear house music. You book Cream, you're going to hear bass house, you know, like that sound. These bookers know what they're getting. But
Yeah,
like, again, it goes back to that quote. If you don't stand for something, then you stand for nothing. Right. So put your foot down, stand for something. And, you know, you could find ways to make it work for everybody.
I like it. I
I
love
was
it.
like,
It's
dude,
been it's
when
been
Rick said that,
refreshing to have that outlook, man. Honestly, like it's been refreshing because I'll go and do something that I don't want to do, and I'm like, why did I even do that? Because I don't like if this is what they want me to do, I don't want to play here anyway. So why not just do me? And obviously, I'm keeping in mind who's in front of me and what like the style of music that I'm playing, but let me do it my way,
yeah,
not your way.
when Rick said that, I think you and me were just like, Jesus. Like, I was like, fuck.
I said I love it.
Like,
I love it. It
holy
makes me
God.
happy
Like,
hearing it.
that's like some confident ass shit, you know? And like, you
Yeah.
need that confidence. And even me, like, I consider myself a pretty confident person. I've always done what I wanted to do in the rooms. I mean, I was playing, you know, Mills Tavern when I had that residency for 7 years, 8 years. And I was making big room EDM 140 back in 2019. And I'd be ripping like my track Beast before it even came out and Psytrance and this. I didn't care. But then when I heard Rick say that, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
geez. Like,
Yeah. I loved it. I loved
yeah,
every second of it.
it was great. It was great.
All right. So you and I both, you have a Discord, right? You have a whole community you've created around music production and coaching. We have our Grow My DJ Business community. We're seeing more and more DJs and artists create these communities.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, number one? And how can people who are listening to this either create their own community or find communities out there that fit what they're trying to do?
Well, I've always been involved in community with whatever skill I've done, right? So that's like all I've known. Like, so before I was even DJing, like, this is like I was like 10 or 11 years old. One of the skills I was really, really like proud of even still today was like using Photoshop and graphic design. Like I was always like I remember my dad actually got me a cracked version of Photoshop 6 from some guy at work that he worked with. And ever since then I was obsessed with Photoshop. Like because I was on these gaming forums, right? Now think of forums, if you guys are too young, they were basically like giant Reddits, right? And it was community. Like I had
And Nike
friends.
Talk, were you ever on Nike Talk?
I was a little bit on Nike Talk. It was like a little bit like it kind of died out right after I got into sneakers, I guess, because I was really more into sneakers in high school. And yeah, I knew about Nike Talk, but I was never like full
All
on
right,
it.
sorry. I had to ask you that
You would
question.
think that I would be on it, but like I just heard about drops from like my friends or like whatever, because my boys were sneakerheads too, and they'd be like, "Yo, we got to get the Concord 11s or whatever it is," and I would be
Yeah.
like, "All right, I'm showing up." But Nike Talk was another one. There was
We're gonna have a
community.
sneaker episode one of these days for
Oh,
sure.
I can't wait! I can't wait. We got to get Clutch on
I
that
was gonna
one.
say we got to bring Clutch. I know. There's a bunch of DJs that are heavy in the sneaker world too.
Yeah, off topic, off topic. But like, you know, like these communities, like I was a part of these like graphic design communities at like, you know, 10, 11 years old. I probably shouldn't have even been on the internet like at that age. It's when the internet started to come out, which was crazy. But like community was so big. And then when I got into music production, you know, we didn't have YouTube tutorials. We didn't have any of that, but there was the laid back Luke forum. And I recently just had a really great conversation with Luke about his forum. And there were so many superstars that were made on laid back Luke's forum. Afrojack, Avicii, Dyro. I mean, the list goes on. He was even telling me a story in Miami about how Martin Garrix's manager used to be producer on the forum as well. So um, I was always involved in community, and I like having community. And there were communities for video games I was in where I was like modding like the community. So people trusted me to, you know, bring people together and make the community a great place. And I think with music right now, it's all about like connecting with your fans and being your authentic self. And what better way to do that than to start community, whether it be through Discord. A lot of guys use Patreon. And granted, some of these you have to pay for, which is okay, but you're getting that inside look, that inside exclusivity that some of these other DJs don't, do. Like, I don't think Fisher has some type of community. At least I don't, just for an example. But Afrojack does, and he has a Discord, and there's a free one, and then there's one you have to pay to get into. And in the one you pay to get into, he's posting like videos of him in the studio, like you're sitting right next to him. And how invaluable is that to be
Yeah.
like in the studio watching Afrojack create a hit? I mean, no money can really buy that. And the fact that he's like charging and only a little amount of money, a couple $100, is like insane to me, but
Yeah.
community is so important. Every big DJ has that. You have the hype fam, you have this, you have that. It's really important. And you guys have the whole get down thing.
Yeah, we all have had like the in-person community, right? The DJ community is one thing. We go out, we hang out, we listen to each other DJ. Sometimes we have open decks, whatever the case may be. But I think now in this era, this digital era, it just makes the world smaller. So we can connect with an Afrojack. We can connect with people that are across the world doing really cool things. And you can learn not just locally or in person, but you can learn on a Discord or a Patreon or whatever. And I've been like pumping money into Patreon lately because I feel like there's been so many artists that are on there and just like our friends and people that I really look up to or I like their music. And you're right, you get this glimpse into how they work and you get a glimpse into their mind, which is priceless. Like getting that little like tidbit of information, like a producer that uses this one thing on their vocal chain, or watching Afrojack and how he, how he like puts a kick or put whatever he puts on his kick chain or his drum chain or whatever it is. Like that stuff's invaluable that you can't learn unless you know Afrojack. But now they're allowing you to see into their world, and it's awesome.
And you're not getting that from YouTube still. Like they're putting clips of like, a 10-minute clip on YouTube of like a 50, minute video that you can get from Patreon, and I personally am not familiar with Patreon or Bandcamp or any of these other ones, but what I am familiar with is Discord, because I like Discord because it is almost like a Reddit and a Zoom combined. You could host video chats, calls, you could bring in guests. Like I always bring in guests for my happy hours, I call them. And I like it because now they saw what kind of, Patreon was doing, and they now have subscriptions as well. And when you subscribe to like the Prior Production Academy Discord, you get access to one-on-ones with me. You get to the higher tier, you get access to like my sample packs and my exclusive edits and tutorials that like I did for like, oh, I thought this was cool, like how to sample any kick drum from any song. And then you go to the highest tier and you get like live streams of me. Like I made my whole track Insomnia in 3 live streams on Discord. Now, not everybody tuned in because everyone has their own separate lives, but you could have saw how I made that track from start to finish if you were on my highest tier, which is so fucking cool and invaluable.
A lot of people will give feedback on demos, or you and I and Revis were on and we were giving some feedback on some mashups.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, it gives you an access that you would never, ever, ever in a million years have access to. And
yeah, for sure.
If you're trying to get on I don't know, if you're trying to get on one particular person's label, right? If they have some sort of a Patreon or a Discord, like I would highly suggest you getting in there, whether it's free or paid, because it's one step closer to getting your music in their hands. You know what I mean?
I just had a student who recently joined Tritonal's Discord, did a demo stream, and he was pretty damn close. It didn't go through, unfortunately, but he was pretty damn close to having a track signed to Tritonal's label because Dave loved it. They wanted to make some changes, but like that wouldn't have happened like in the demo stream if there was no community involved around it. Right?
And now
like,
they know that person's name. So the next demo that
but
submit,
now they're going to see his name
like,
come through the inbox and be like, oh, we got to listen to this one. He was so close. Like he makes good stuff, or he types in the Discord, even just being active. Like I know who's active in my Discord and who isn't, like who's always in there, even in your Discord, even in the Revealed Discord. I know who the top people are because they're constantly engaging with everybody. So, community is so important, especially in this time, because you don't need 50,000 fans. You just need 100 ride or die fans that are going to ride or die for you. And I think, what better way to do that than start and make them feel part of your brand as well.
Yeah, if you guys are not familiar with Discord or you're not on Bandcamp or Patreon, I would highly suggest just go and do some digging. because it's helped me for sure as an artist. It's helped me for sure finding music that I would not find on any of the record pools. I've watched a lot of videos that have helped me become a better producer for sure. So I would highly suggest just digging a little bit and seeing what's out there. Join the Grow My DJ Business Discord, join the Ferrari Discord, and start there.
Yeah, I mean, who is doing the Patreon? I remember I thought this was like genius when I first saw it like a couple years ago, but I don't know if it was Beatbreaker or Nick Spinelli, but they were like joining their Patreon for whatever it was, $5 a month. You were getting their Serato like crates.
Yeah, I know Beatbreaker was doing. I think he still does it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, so, you know, for someone like me where I don't organize any music, like I organize my music based on like what's new, and then I put like the last gig I played and I'll title that and I'll be like, okay, like that's my Serato crate. I'll play this set for a couple, you know, or rotate through that a couple like weeks or whatever. But as far as organizing music, like to have like a Latin crate and to like join the Patreon and be like, oh wow, like these are in this guy's crate and he's playing in Vegas and this and that. Like I'll, you know, I always say everyone can have the same songs, which is true. Everybody can have the same songs, but no one's going to play them like you do. But one step closer and playing them how like you do or he does or the next guy does, you could have those crates and work through that. And I think that's just like it's like cheat code, you know, especially for
Right,
like
and like
open format.
some of
guys.
these things are like $5, guys. Like it's like
$2
$5 a month.
Yeah, it's like my coffee at Starbucks, my pumpkin spice coffee was like.
I also look at it now like I'm supporting the artists who I believe in or whose music I play a lot, or like they've given so much in the world of edits and mashups and stuff that I played in my sets. Like I can contribute $5 a month to Beatbreaker or whoever it might be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. My pumpkin spice coffee, like I was saying, was that I got in August on the 69-degree day was I think it was like $6.50 for a pumpkin spice cold brew. You're getting information that you could take to make money with for half the price. So
yeah. One thing I'm seeing though is because all of these Patreons, a lot of like the exclusive artists are now just putting their own stuff out, you know? They're not sending their music to record pools. I'm finding that a lot of those exclusives that you would once always found on the record pools, you have to go to the Patreon for. So I don't know. It's a great thing for the artist for sure. It's a new revenue stream. It's a way to create a community. It's a way to find your fans. But it's definitely hurt the record pools for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they saw like, you know, like, yeah, that we have their exclusive record pools. Like, you know, you're on DMP and other guys are, you know, other places. But like, maybe they just saw an opportunity to be like, well, you know, DMP has this great community or whatever. Well, I could create that for myself. And I'm a little bit like biased on that because I don't give out my edits anymore. I just thought that like if I gave out my edits, everybody would sound like me or my mashups. So I keep them to myself. And I, you know, the thing that separates me as a DJ is that I'm playing edits that or mashups that nobody's going to hear. But yeah, I do think that like the record pools are severely hurting from that because I go on the pools and I can't find anything that I can really play anymore. But, you know, artists like Wookie who are doing these Patreons and you're getting these like awesome Wookie leaks and stuff like that.
I subscribe.
Yeah, they're great. And you know, I think Benzie was doing it for a while before he started his own
Yeah,
pool
he's got his
as
own
well.
pool now.
Yeah, so, you know, it's definitely a weird time for that, but like that's why I think it's also cool because I'm encouraging you guys again to make your own stuff and do that because it'll separate you in the long run.
Yeah, personally, I used to make edits and then send them to DMP like the same week or the week after. Whereas now I'm sort of holding edits and playing them and seeing what's hitting, and certain intros that I used to just give away, I don't really give away as much anymore. But usually I'll still give stuff out eventually, like after it's been mine for a few months and I've kind of rinsed it enough.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you could also put these edits out with like these free marketing tools like Hyped It, whatever, and now you're converting that from like a download that a DJ is going to play to an actual fan that's going to keep listening to your music when you start putting out originals. So I think I've seen a little bit of a burst with like these edit mashup packs on SoundCloud and stuff, and they do really well because people are like, wow, it's free. You know, I don't have to subscribe to a record pool or whatever it is to get them now. I just have to just follow this artist on, you know, whatever platform it is. And I think when you're at the beginning of your career, a fan is much more valuable than a dollar amount for sure. So create as many fans as you can, and then you could start, you know, using whatever you can do to start creating revenue for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that in the past, like Hyped It a lot in SoundCloud and stuff, but that's the number one way that I've built a fan base on multiple platforms is creating edit packs that go on SoundCloud, that go on Hyped It, and that I require people not to pay me in a dollar amount, but to pay me in a follow or a like or a subscribe to various platforms. Like the Cream Mix Spotify playlist would not be at whatever the number is now without that, right?
Of course. And think about if you like use that to pre-save one of your new songs, right? Like,
for sure.
you have a new song coming out, you put up a mashup pack, and every one of those 3,000 downloads are now pre-saving your song so that when it comes out, even if they just listen to it once and whatever, it's 3,000 streams right in your pocket. So
yeah, I really wish DJs and artists would think more about strategies and of, you know, when they release music in packs, be more strategic about it. You know, like I know you talk to your students and I talk to my team a lot about it, but like this is like a 30-day marketing strategy kind of thing. It's not like, oh, my release is coming out Friday, I'm going to promote it all week, and then it's gone and done with kind of thing.
It's 4 weeks in the future. When we start releasing stuff in the Production Academy, we create a release plan. I show them what the major labels do, and I say, look at this detailed release plan. Now, we're not a major label, so we can't hit all of that, but there is a marketing strategy behind every single release. Whether you're putting that remix out to gain a certain amount of followers on TikTok because they're following you on TikTok through your download gate, or you're doing it to pre-save your new song, like we are scheduling releases 3, 4, 5 months in advance for some of these students because there's a strategy involved. Like you take a look at like one of your guys who also works with me, Zay, doing such a great job. He finally nailed his Latin house, like Latin influenced sound down. And he's got release after release after release after release coming out. He uses the remix to help people pre-save his original. Now his original is coming out, I think this week or next week. And then he's got Friday. Friday, beautiful. And then he's got that song using pre-saves and whatever to go generate his next one. And now he's creating buzz, but also a lot of potential fans that will come back every single time for that Latin house stuff. Now, if you're doing that and you're doing dance pop, then hard style, then this, then that, then it's not going to work out for you because you came to go buy a coffee, but they're serving ice cream the next time. So it's really important to stay consistent with that and understand that there's a strategy behind all of that stuff.
Yeah, big shout to Zay. I hit him up this week because I saw his release was coming out and we were talking for a little bit. But, you know, I know both of us have had conversations with him about his sound. And he sent me a bunch of tracks that he's got coming out and sent some previews out. And like, I love where he's at. It's great. It's unique. It's like his style. And I know he was trying to figure that out for a while. And
it takes
a while. Great to see his artist journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it because it took him, 3 years to find it. And every time he was like doubting himself, I'm like, it's okay. It's going to happen. It's not going to happen as fast as this guy or that guy, but you need to find your sound. And finding your sound is trying a bunch of different things, seeing what sticks. And then when you find something you like and it starts to stick and you're passionate about it, there's your sound. And he's doing a great job with that. I'm really excited for you guys to even that listen to the podcast, check out, his stuff. And if you haven't, it's just Zay, Z-A-Y. He's got a really dope remix of bongos. I was playing a lot, but check out his stuff, man. It's really, really cool if you're into Latin house.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the track, but I know there's one track that has like a dembo breakdown that goes into house music. Super fire.
I think it might have been the bongos remix. It's like
it's a different one. I don't remember what it was, but there was something where like, it kind of took from other styles of music and genres that he was really into.
It could have been To the Ground. That was like a big room kind of song.
I think it's an unreleased. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just again, you're talking about a guy that's cranking out music. It's hard for me to just reckon. And it's funny because like he's doing a lot of Latin stuff and the titles are all Latin and I don't know a lick of Spanish. So I'm like, what's the name of that one again? And he's like, Quiero Bailar. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. What's the name of that one again? So it's hard for me to grasp it a little bit.
That's funny. Yeah. Get that R roll, bro. Get the R roll.
Dude. I'm Italian. I should be able to, but like
I know my girlfriend rips on me all day.
My dad's off the boat. I don't know a lick of Italian, but I took 12 years of Mandarin Chinese, so that's useful.
Really? That's a fun fact. I didn't know.
Yeah, 12 years of Mandarin Chinese from first grade to senior year high school AP Chinese.
That's wild.
Yep.
Why? Have you ever been there?
I'm from Verona, New Jersey, by the way, guys. Verona, like the most Italian town, like in North Jersey. I don't know. First grade, like my elementary school, it was the first year when I got into first grade that they started Mandarin Chinese. And I had the teacher, Mrs. Chang and Mrs. Ho, shout out to them. They've stuck with me the last 12 years, but like everybody took it. And then, you know, once you get into middle school, you got to stick with whatever language, but you had a choice of 3: Spanish, French, no Italian, or Chinese. So I stuck with Chinese. And then, you know, high school, you were able to only take 2 years of a language, and then you could stop. So my class went from like a lot to a lot to a lot. And I think by the end of it, I was one of 6 or 8 kids in AP Chinese. And I really think that like one of the reasons why, you know, well, I won't say that's why, because I was I consider myself a pretty smart guy, graduated like top 10 in my class. But I think one of the big reasons why I got into college was because my Mandarin teacher, Mrs. Ho, wrote me the most insane like recommendation letter. It was like the best thing I've ever read in my life. Like, and you know, I think it's awesome because I love Chinese culture. I think it relates with music a lot too, like in fashion. I love that. I would love to go to China one day, and or Japan or somewhere in Asia, and just like, you know, take in that culture. But wishful thinking, hopefully.
Yeah, man. I think DJ goal, like biggest goal for me, is to go play Japan. That's that, you
Dude,
know, I'm putting that out into the world because I want to make that happen in the next like 3 years.
Music, food, fashion central. Like, dude, I'm all for it. We should try and take a
DJ in Japan.
Yeah,
let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's make it happen.
I'll do it.
All right, man. I know you got to go. You have lessons. I appreciate you stepping in today as our, you know, official co-host of the show. So appreciate you.
Of course, it was fun. It was a lot of
Thank
fun.
you guys for listening to this episode, and we will talk to you guys next week. Peace
Thanks
out.
for having me. Peace out.